So what is going on, guys? It's Triple G here, back with another Outriders video, and today is part 2 in our 4-part series looking at all the classes in Outriders. And today we're going to be looking at the Devastator. Now I'm going to surprise you guys. This Devastator is more than just a tank. You're going to go from feeling like Juggernaut from X-Men to Neo from the Matrix. This guy has so much more depth to him than I think I even realized. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel or join us over on Twitch. We stream 5 times a week, and otherwise let's get straight into this video. So let's get straight into the Devastator then. On first glance, it looks like the Devastator is just a standard tank class. You'll be strapped with maybe a big LMG and you'll just go ham, being able to recover and just kind of killing everything in its path. However, this is a drastically short-sighted view of the Devastator. The Devastator has a ton of abilities which are not usually combined with a tank class, which will make him absolutely incredible. He has some of the most jaw-dropping abilities in the game that I've seen so far. And in addition to that, he's going to be a real linchpin for your team. You can select the Devastator as a solo player and still be able to just do a ton of damage. But I see the Devastator as somebody you're going to want in your team, and you'll see from the abilities why we say that. So let's start with the Devastator's fundamentals. You have 3 kind of categories. You have kinetic damage, you have the protection from the Devastator, and you have the seismic damage. So kinetic is the physical damage that you are going to do to enemies. The protection is going to make you look like Neo from the Matrix, and the seismic damage is manipulating the earth to penetrate enemies and absolutely destroy them. The Devastator's melee ability applies bleed, which is damage over time, which can be buffed through the skill tree. If you damage a multitude of enemies at the same time, you're going to be applying bleed damage to all of those enemies. So that's how some of the basics works for the Devastator. Let's move on to how you're actually going to heal and stay alive on the battlefield. So this is where I think Outriders makes a distinction between the character's playstyle and whether or not you're going to be able to choose the Devastator. The Devastator's only way he can heal is by killing enemies that are close to him. So if you are a sniper class or like to play at range, you have no way of healing, so you need to be up close and personal. This class does share some similarities to other of the classes within Outriders. The other classes may gain shield on close proximity, but the Devastator gains armor and gains health like no other class. It is absolutely critical that if any weakened enemies are on the battlefield, that you get up close and personal and provide those finishing moves. Worth noting as well that it doesn't have to be you that have killed those enemies. You just need to be in close proximity when those guys die. So Outriders has told us about 4 powers so far, and the first one we're going to look at is Gravity Leap. Now, Gravity Leap looks absolutely incredible. It looks like it can be used as an offensive and a defensive weapon. Essentially, what you will do, you will activate this ability and you will project yourself up into the air where the enemies can't kill you. You will get a bit of brief respite while that is happening, and then you can choose to either back away from the battlefield or effectively, like a Titan Slam, which you will have seen in Destiny, slam into the ground. This ability can also be used to interrupt bosses' combo attacks or special attacks, so it can be used in a multitude of ways. One thing to remember as well is that when the Devastator goes in and slams these enemies, if you manage to kill these enemies, you are going to heal off these enemies. So you could find yourself backed off into a corner, be in real trouble, and proc this attack, kill all the enemies around you, and suddenly you're at max health again. Next up, we have Reflect Bullets. Now, Reflect Bullets, quite frankly, looks like the most amazing jaw-dropping skill I have seen in a video game in a long time. Effectively, you become Neo from Matrix 1. You're going to put a protective barrier on the battlefield in front of you and your potential teammates. This barrier not only will protect you from all of these bullets, it will catch all of these bullets as well. And if you press the button again, you will fire these bullets back at the enemies. It looks jaw-dropping. I really hope this is really powerful in the game. It looks like it is. It's going to be something I'm going to want to use all the time. Next up, we have Impale, and now this is another freaking cool looking skill. Effectively, what you're going to be able to do here is impale enemies with spikes that you raise up from the ground. If those enemies are killed by these spikes, then they will stay impaled on the battlefield, making for some absolutely jaw-dropping and gruesome scenes as you leave them in your wake. This ability can also be used to stun and prevent enemies from attacking you if it doesn't kill enemies. So it can be really quite useful if you know that the enemies are going to attack you. Just make sure that you haven't got one of these abilities on cooldown, else you'll probably end up with some bullets in the face. The final skill that has been previewed is Endless Mass. Now, Endless Mass is really freaking cool, and it's going to work extremely well for combinations and for co-op play. Endless Mass effectively puts a totem of mass in the middle of the battlefield, and enemies are pulled towards it. This is going to work really well for combos. You can use your Endless Mass to pull everybody into an area and out of cover, and then use your gravity leap to slam down, killing those enemies, putting yourself back up to max health. This is also going to be really good for co-op play, because you can use the same theory again, pull enemies out of cover for your other teammates to go in and wreak havoc. Start combining all these abilities together, and suddenly you have a gravity pulling, slamming, bullet deflecting absolute god. So no longer is this tank class just about being able to take damage, it's also being able to manipulate the field effectively as well. So let's touch briefly on the skill trees then. There are 3 branches of this skill tree. There is the Vanquisher, the Warden, and the Seismic Shifter. The Vanquisher focuses on close range combat. You have buffs to your melee damage as well as other close weapons like shotguns, pistols, that kind of thing. So it's all about getting up close and personal. The Warden is what Outriders are calling the ultimate tank, with buffs to your healing abilities and the amount of health that you have with your armor. Whilst this doesn't probably look like the most fashionable of trees when it comes to some of the really good skills that are on Outriders, this could be critical for some of the endgame content. Being able to stay alive is something that always helps everybody. The final branch is the Seismic Shifter. Now this gives buffs to your actual abilities like Gravity Leap, and also buffs the damage over time damage. So remember at the start of this video we talked that the Devastator does bleed damage. This skill tree will buff that damage over time, meaning that some enemies that you've already damaged will die without you having to do any follow-up shots. So there you have it, guys. There is the guide to the Devastator class, the second of our 4-part series. As you can see, there is way more depth to the Devastator than just being a simple tank. It has a ton of abilities, a ton of different playstyles as well, and can be used as a solo character, and is going to fit very well in a team. If you have enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel or join us over on Twitch. We stream 5 times a week, and otherwise I'll catch you on the flip.